Welcome back to the Stephen A. Smith Show. Before I get on out of here, I had to talk about a story that's very, very important. And albeit indirectly, it involves...
Stephen A. Smith just said the quiet part out loud, and the WNBA is absolutely not going to like it. For nearly 2 years, whispers have followed the league, rumors of jealousy, resentment, and a coordinated effort to cool off the biggest star women's basketball has ever seen. But this week, everything changed. Once Nike, Travis Scott, and the Kelsey brothers entered the picture, the debate was over. Caitlin Clark is no longer just a basketball player, she is a global economy. Stephen A. Smith didn't just defend the Indiana Fever star, he confirmed what many suspected but were afraid to say publicly. The gap between Caitlin Clark and the rest of the WNBA isn't a gap anymore, it's a canyon, and no amount of PR can bridge it. If you thought the original $28 million Nike deal was the headline, you were wrong. That was only the down payment on something far bigger, a financial shift that now threatens to tear apart the WNBA's already fragile ecosystem. To understand why this moment is so earth-shattering, you have to look at the event that triggered it all, the Christmas Day Nike commercial that broke the internet. While families were opening gifts and watching NBA games, Nike quietly dropped the From Anywhere campaign, a massive cinematic ad designed to introduce Caitlin Clark's upcoming signature shoe, the Caitlin Ones, scheduled for a spring 2026 release. But the real shock wasn't the visuals or the production quality. It was who appeared alongside her. Not WNBA legends. Not pioneers of the women's game. Instead, Nike placed her next to Travis Scott and the Kelsey brothers, global cultural icons. According to Stephen A. Smith, this wasn't an accident, it was a calculated statement. Nike was making it clear that Caitlin Clark no longer needs the WNBA's validation. She has outgrown the league before her second season has even fully matured. Stephen A. Smith argues that this commercial represents the nightmare scenario for the old guard of the WNBA. They wanted Caitlin Clark to wait her turn, to pay her dues, and to blend in. Instead, Nike handed her the keys to the kingdom and left everyone else in the rearview mirror. And the jealousy, Smith says, is driven by one thing above all else, money. When news first broke about her 8-year, $28 million deal, locker rooms across the league were already tense. Players who had spent a decade grinding were suddenly watching a rookie earn more in endorsements than entire team payrolls. But now, insiders suggest that the $28 million figure may be laughably conservative. New projections indicate that Caitlin Clark's signature shoe line alone could become a $150 million business within its first 3 years. That number puts everything into perspective. The average WNBA salary sits around $76,000 a year, with the maximum salary still under $250,000. Stephen A. Smith calls this financial disparity the radioactive core of the tension we're seeing on the court. This isn't just about basketball anymore, it's about one player generating more wealth from a sneaker drop than most of her peers will see in a lifetime. Smith believes human nature makes resentment inevitable. You cannot introduce that kind of wealth gap into a competitive locker room without breeding contempt, no matter how professional the environment is supposed to be. This week, Stephen A. Smith doubled down on his most controversial claim yet, openly stating that resentment toward Caitlin Clark is guaranteed to skyrocket after this Nike campaign. He argues that the hard fouls, the physical checks, and the freezing out we saw last season were only the beginning. Now that she has become the official face of Nike basketball, the target on her back is larger than ever. According to Smith, the next season will be even more physical, more hostile, and more revealing, because the money is no longer hypothetical, the commercials are airing, and the checks have cleared. Smith also highlights how aggressively Nike has played this situation. Nike isn't a charity, it's a data-driven corporation. They saw the ratings spike. They saw the jersey sales explode. They saw the lines wrapping around arenas in Indianapolis. While the WNBA tried to promote parity and spread marketing across all teams, Nike went in the opposite direction and went all in on one star. Stephen A. Smith has repeatedly criticized the league for trying to suppress Caitlin Clark's stardom in order to keep everyone else comfortable, calling it a massive strategic failure. The contrast is now embarrassing. Nike treats her like an icon, while the league treats her like just another rookie who needs to fall in line. The branding shift makes this even more obvious. Nike's new interlocking CC logo is designed to stand alone, just like the Jumpman logo represents Michael Jordan rather than the Chicago Bulls. When you see that symbol, Nike wants you to think Caitlin Clark, not the Indiana Fever and not the WNBA. Stephen A. Smith warns that this kind of leverage is dangerous for the league because it flips the power dynamic. Caitlin Clark is becoming bigger than the Shield, and once a player reaches that level, the league needs them far more than they need the league. Stephen A. Smith has also addressed the uncomfortable racial dynamics surrounding Caitlin Clark's rise. He acknowledges that part of the resentment comes from the fact that a white player from Iowa is being positioned as the face of a league built and sustained by black women for over 2 decades. It's an uncomfortable conversation, but one Smith insists is happening behind closed doors. However, he counters it with a blunt reality: business is business. Caitlin Clark puts people in seats, drives television ratings, and raises the financial ceiling for everyone involved. According to Smith, players should be focused on how she's lifting the league's earning potential rather than resenting who is steering the ship. The inclusion of Travis Scott and the Kelsey brothers in the Nike commercial also signals a massive cultural shift. Nike is positioning Caitlin Clark as a crossover star who appeals not just to basketball fans, but to NFL audiences, hip-hop culture, and casual fans who may have never watched a single quarter of WNBA basketball. Stephen A. Smith argues this crossover appeal is what makes her untouchable. If opponents try to rough her up or officials allow excessive physicality, the backlash won't just come from WNBA fans, it will come from the mainstream public that Nike has brought into the fold. As the hype builds toward the spring 2026 release of the Caitlin ones, industry analysts are already comparing the scale of the launch not to other WNBA shoes, but to early Air Jordan releases. Nike is reportedly preparing far more inventory than any previous women's signature shoe, signaling confidence that this product will cross into lifestyle culture. Stephen A. Smith notes that once an athlete reaches lifestyle status, they become immortal in the sports world. Jordan did it. LeBron did it. And now, Caitlin Clark appears to be next. Stephen A. Smith ultimately frames this moment as a classic power struggle. The league is trying to maintain control over a player who has become financially larger than the league itself. History shows how this story usually ends. The establishment always resists the anomaly, because the anomaly exposes its limitations. But in the end, the anomaly wins. Nike has placed its bet, the money is real, and Caitlin Clark has officially entered a tier the WNBA has never dealt with before. The upcoming season won't just define her career, it will define the future of the league itself.